everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you see me looking up repeatedly, it's because we have a Zoom call today with a very good friend of mine. If it's your first time, this is Marie with Modern Day Vet Podcast, where we bridge the gap between military and civilian sector. So today we have a very special guest, Jeff DeLeon. I'm going to have him introduce himself a little bit of his background, the years that he served, and kind of why we're having this conversation today. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Jeff.
All right. Thank you very much, Marie. As she said, very good friend of mine. And we met in San Diego while she was still active duty. So it's been a very good friendship, and I'm glad to be here. Glad you asked me to be here. My name is Jeff DeLeon. I served in the United States Navy 1998 through 2000. I was in an automobile accident during my service that left me as a T5 paraplegic, retired medically out of the military, and transitioned to civilian life after that.
Okay, so I didn't notice that you were medically retired out of the military. So you're receiving 100% disability
Yes.
because of your accident
Correct.
in the military, and you're receiving retirement.
Yes. When you get medically retired, they give you an option. You can take your military retirement, or you can take VA compensation. And so me retiring as an E3, my pay would have been 1/4 of what the VA compensation was at the time. So obviously going for the VA compensation and taking that 100% disability compensation was a better financial choice than taking retired military pay.
Okay, so when you retire, if you were to retire, for anybody that's listening out there and maybe going through med board right now or anything, if you choose to medically retire, it's the rate that you're currently at right now.
Correct. And I do believe that has changed since 99 when I got injured. That now, if you are to an actual retirement, if you have long enough to retire, you can receive retirement benefits and compensation.
Okay. Now the accident, was it while you were obviously, yes, you were active duty, but was it while you were working, or was it like off duty? And no,
it was off duty. We were on our way back to go perform our duty of the day, and that was when the accident occurred.
Gotcha. How soon after? So, okay, the accident occurred. If this is a sensitive topic, we could cut it out, or you could just tell me to shut up or move on. Or
I'm open book. I'm an open book for you. No, never that.
So you went through all of the health treatment while still active duty. And at what time
Correct.
did the active duty kind of say, obviously it's time for you to choose if you're going to medically retire or receive the 100% disability or something like that? Once you were
at the time,
to a healthy point,
at the time when I got injured. Absolutely. So when I retired, this was pre 9/11, so 1999. I got injured in May of 99, May 10th, 1999. Heading out, like I said, getting back to base to go to work. One of the guys I was with just goofing around took us off the road, and the seatbelt broke my back and left me paralyzed. So I started my first 5 days. I was stationed at Lemoore, California at the time, and I started in Fresno hospital there, and was then transported up to Seattle. I believe when the choice was given to me was about 6 months after the injury. My rehab was on a time frame of about 3 months. I think I got out of there at 2.5. And at 6 months was when they gave me the option to retire and receive that pay or receive VA compensation, which, like I stated earlier, I definitely went for the VA compensation because it made more financial sense to me to do so.
Okay. So how was your transition, you would say, getting out of the military completely? Like once you officially became, granted, it's a lot of things have changed, but you said you got out in 1999. We are in 2023. My head is barely on my shoulders today. but it's been a good amount of years. You got out in 1999, which was 24 years ago. And obviously, a lot of things have changed and for the better. It's a lot of stuff have advanced and gotten a lot better. How was your transition getting out into the civilian sector? Do you feel like you had help with certain organizations, with the VA, with your chain of command? Do you feel like there was any help at that time?
Absolutely. I definitely owe a lot to my chain of command one. Also the VA, the rehab facility that I went through at the time was, amazing. They did everything they could do to get me out. As I said, being a pre 9/11, there wasn't as much from the veteran service organizations. You always seem to have this lull after times of war. PVA really got started after World War II, Paralyzed Veterans of America, and they are a veteran service organization that helps catastrophically injured veterans with spinal cord injury and disease. And there was a big push after that war. Then kind of same thing happens. It starts to lag off once the years go by after the end of a conflict like that. Vietnam happened, same thing. You had a lot of people coming back injured, and then the years go by and it starts to lag off. So PVA was definitely there. They helped me get my benefits, compensation, things like that, benefits that I was entitled to. But unfortunately, I do feel at the time there wasn't as much of the push of let's get them back out in the community, whether it's working, playing sports, being involved in, recreational type activities. So, at that time, I do feel that aspect of it was at a point in their movement that was, kind of lagging. And I really appreciated everything that the VA had done for me up to that point, but just was kind of lost out there in the world of a very severe disability. Me not being able to walk and using a wheelchair full time.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, at what point or at what year did you join the PVA organization? You were the president, correct?
Correct. Yes, I actually started really getting involved with them in 2009. I started participating in some adaptive athletics that led to me, getting involved with the local chapter uh, of the Paralyzed Veterans of Oregon of America. I'm sorry, they're in Oregon, and through that, I was at a point in my life where I could have decided to pursue the adaptive athletics and maybe go see where that could have taken me with Paralympics, or I had an opportunity to volunteer. And the way I saw it was I wanted to go ahead and volunteer and make sure that we were reaching all the people, like me, that didn't really know what PVA really was capable of as far as helping get back to as normal of a life and a new life that we could. And so that's why I chose to volunteer there. I started out as a sports director and worked my way up to become the president of the chapter in 2011.
Okay, so the president position, is it an actual paid position or the whole thing was volunteer?
So it's a volunteer position. They did have what is called a stipend. It was $1,000 stipend. Um, but really the drive is, being somebody that wants to volunteer. And that's what we really look for, is people that are ready to get out and feel like they want to give back for the help that they've received. And for me, it was more of the VA help. And obviously PVA did do a great job of getting me my benefits, financial benefits. But I wanted to try to help us really reach that civilian life, getting people back into life in general, not just providing them with an income.
Now, is PVA specifically only for individuals that have like a physical disability, or it could be for anyone, any veteran?
So Paralyzed Veterans America is for spinal cord injury and disease, but they are what's known as a VSO, Veteran Service Organization. And there's many different ones. Disabled American Veterans, that's for any veteran with any kind of a disability. American Legion, veterans of foreign wars. There's countless, veteran service organizations that are out there that
Mhm.
people are eligible for. This was one that I was eligible for and was very specific to the needs that I now had being paralyzed.
Now, with your needs of being paralyzed, what benefits have you been awarded through the VA or through the PVA or through just your experience of speaking to different organizations? What have you been given or made aware of that could help somebody that may be in a serious injury, maybe in recovery right now and they're listening to the podcast, or someone may share this podcast to someone else that, God forbid, just got into an accident, or they might have been, I don't know, something happened on a ship or something happened in Iraq. What benefits were given to you as a physically disabled veteran?
So first and foremost, you're going to have the devices that you use. So mine is the wheelchair, obviously. There's going to be other people that use leg braces and things like that. So the Veterans Administration is definitely going to provide everything you need to have mobility, to have independence, as much independence as your disability is going to allow. But apart from that, there are special services. With me being a 100% service connected disabled veteran, I was eligible and am eligible for special adaptive housing, and that's a grant that allows you to uh, build a home or modify a current home and bring it up to ADA standards. So uh, accessible bathroom that has 3 feet of space between your toilet and um, another device or a wall or anything like that. There's certain specific stuff that they ask for that makes a home accessible for somebody that's in a wheelchair, ramps that have a certain incline, and so forth.
Are you currently driving that you're in a wheelchair?
Yes, absolutely. And that is another benefit that they do have. There is a grant that helps you purchase a vehicle at first. And then also, because of my disabilities, it does every 2 years, I can adapt a vehicle. Um, they help pay for leather interior, automatic transmission, power brakes, all the things that are going to be necessary for somebody that is going to now be driving with just their hands. Somebody that also has skin issues, with their limbs. They help meet all of those needs, um, and assist us financially to make sure, that that's not a burden apart from the compensation that we're receiving.
Okay. Okay. So, what major changes would you say you've seen between now when you first got out to um like just a difference in anything, any updates you've seen that have really helped you out recently that maybe weren't available in 1999 when you first had your injury?
I mean, not necessarily that would affect myself, but there are ones that have affected everybody since 9/11. The new GI Bill, just the fact that more service organizations are out there. There's also nonprofits like Wounded Warrior Project and different ones like that are now raising funds on their own to help meet a need that possibly can't be met by just the VA system. Because we are now seeing more people that were coming back injured and disabled, that the VA's program solely was not going to be able to keep up with being in all the communities that these people were coming from. A lot of these guys were going back to small towns, and that's where a lot of the organizations, nonprofits, have stepped up and really covered that gap and tried to make sure that we reach out and uh, bring some of the people that come back with even if it's not a catastrophic injury, a TBI, different things like that will kind of lead to a harder transition back to civilian life.
Mhm. Okay, that sounds really good. You said obviously it's pre 9/11 when you got out. Have you
Yes.
used, so what are the educational benefits that you were granted? that the post 9/11 doesn't grant that, because you obviously don't have access to the post 9/11 GI Bill, correct? So, what are your
Correct.
benefits in terms of education?
So a lot of the educational benefits are the same. They're just not as extensive. I do believe post 9/11 is a little bit easier access for veterans that have now transitioned from military life to civilian life, and also programs that are now more easily available for them to look at trades, going into a welding program or a carpentry program, different things like that, that before it was pretty much strictly a getting back to college, looking for a degree, that kind of a deal.
Gotcha, gotcha. Have you went back to the VA and seen if you can qualify for anything else education wise?
So my options there are absolutely open. It was just a path that I didn't really see myself accessing and using, because of the path that I chose going through PBA, working and volunteering for a veteran service organization. Um, I do have friends that, went back and got education, further their education so they could move further up in the organization on a national level.
Mhm.
And, for me, it just was not really something that I felt was my pathway to being a part of this. For me, I think it's mainly the availability of programs, and one of the main ones is adaptive sports through the VA. Even if it's not somebody that's very into sports as a whole, going through some of their programs, they have a um, women's clinic. I can't remember where it is that they hold that. I do actually believe it's here in Colorado, but it's a way for people just to get in contact with other people that are going through the same transition. And a lot of times you're going to hear some tips and tricks to, help either move you through the VA process or, help you deal with some of the problems that you're struggling with, getting back to that civilian life and making it as productive as you can be.
Now, the adaptive sports, is it just for disabled veterans, or is adaptive sports for everyone?
Um, so the adaptive sports is for disabled. Uh, it's not specific to certain injuries.
Mhm.
They do from time to time have programs for TBI, but it is absolutely something that even veterans that don't have disabilities can get in contact with an organization that does provide programs too outside of the VA and be a just kind of like a partner in training, whether it's maybe adaptive lifting programs or bike riding. For me, that was actually the transition that I had. I
Mhm.
was somebody that was always a sports guy, played sports, baseball, football, basketball, wrestled when I was younger. And so that was probably the hardest part for me was just listening to people say, hey, let's go do some wheelchair basketball. Let's do wheelchair, 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 wheelchair. That was all I heard. And it was so foreign to me. And really what was a transition for me was my recreation therapist at the time, Dave Tossenroot, who is now the director for the Veterans Wheelchair Games for the VA side. He got me to come out and do a bike ride. It's called Seattle Portland. It's a very huge event that is held every year around the 4th of July in Seattle, going from Seattle to Portland, Oregon. 200 ride. I'm sorry about that. 200-mile bike ride in 2 days,
Jesus.
and it's a bike ride. It's not an accessible bike ride. It's not, and that was something that at the time I really needed. I
Mhm.
didn't want to be put in this just fear of now this is all you can do is go and be with people that are also in chairs or in hand cycles or whatever. And so that was the most effective thing for bringing me through that transition, was being able to go on this bike ride. And I struggled. It was hard. It did whoop my butt pretty good. But I had people riding by me on bikes thinking, at the time, like I said, it was 99. You didn't see it a ton. And so people would ride by and say, "Hey, nice recumbent bike. I'm glad that you're out here." And I'm like, "Well, it's not a recumbent bike. I'm pumping it with my arms." And then they'd look and be like, "Oh my gosh," like, wow, and so it was just, but it was really a great experience that helped me transition into now accepting some of these adaptive sports and just different lifestyle that I was going to have to now deal with.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So he is actually really, really good at basketball. That's how we first met at a wheelchair clinic in San Diego. I was volunteering actually. The military is really big on volunteering. Um, and it's something that I'm really big into still, but bills need to get paid, so I can't volunteer as much as I want to. But yeah, the wheelchair clinic. So you seem pretty knowledgeable on adaptive sports and like different things that are going on. I know we had a previous conversation of that you automatically get like a physical therapy person or something. Like you get like a caseworker, which obviously I didn't get. So I think that's something just for the disabled veterans that are physically disabled that they get. So speak a little bit about that. Like what is a I wouldn't say awarded to you, but what's given to you to kind of help you through kind of your mental struggles, physical struggles as well. Cause even though you're paralyzed, you may have moments of pain or anything, or just like how does your day to day affect you pretty much?
Absolutely. So, it's unfortunate that I hear that you say that you were not provided with that. Everybody should be provided with a patient advocate, a social worker, and those kinds of things to help them, like I said, navigate through. And that's really one of the reasons why I really push people to try to find a veteran service organization that will help guide your way and make sure that you do have, because I do not believe it's specific to us having, catastrophic injury or loss of limb, things like that. Um, we definitely, as spinal cord injury, we are a very different population. It's a high acuity level of care, and so we do have social workers, physical therapists, occupational therapists, recreational therapists, and all of that to help us uh, transition back into civilian life. But I do believe that most of those things are available, upon request. And some of the times it's just knowing the way to navigate through the system of the VA, because unfortunately they're almost like any other insurance where they want to just deny a bunch of claims because they're trying to save money or whatever it is that they're doing. And so, for me, from working through the PVA, I did find out a lot about how the actual regulations are written. And I use those. I know one time I really used them when I was having some medical issues while I was down in San Diego, and they had told me, well, you have to go through the emergency room to be able to get treated and then seen by a doctor, and then after you're seen by a doctor, then they'll talk about seeing what they can do to help you out. And at the time, I knew I had a urinary tract infection, and so I just needed to get some medication, do a urinalysis. And the way our system is works is that not every VA is going to have a spinal cord injury unit, and so your hub can call and give orders to any VA hospital, and they are supposed to follow them. And so when I was first uh, pushing to have that done while I was there in San Diego, like nobody knew about it. Everybody was trying to just go against me. I ended up having to take it all the way to the director. And I said, here's the VHA directive. And I had recently been to um, uh, for the PVA, they call it the hospital liaison position. And so I went through this training, and so I knew all of these regulations. And so I was able to, tell them. I looked at my phone. I said, "This is the regulation. If you guys are going to deny this regulation, I need it in writing that you're saying you're not going to follow the directive that was, passed down from the VA director." And needless to say, they ended up following it, doing what was needed to be done. But it's kind of one of those things too that's a little bit sad for me, because what happens to the people that don't know and don't understand everything that should be happening for them? And that's unfortunate, because it shouldn't be such a fight for us to get the care that, we have earned. It's not a care that's just given to us. It's one that was earned through service and signing that contract that said that you're going to lay your life down for the Constitution.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. This is the purpose of this podcast. If the military hasn't taught you anything, read your shit and do not take no for an answer for the most part. Always kind of look in, get a second opinion, second answer. Look up the instruction yourself. VA.gov, like I said, is a Bible for us. Literally, the search bar on the right-hand corner, you can use it as a Google search bar, and you could put in whatever the fuck you want. You could put broken leg, you could put internship, you could put maternity program. Just literally Google it. Don't take the first person's word for it. Because if you have someone that's in a bad mood and you call the VA at the time, first of all, you could call the VA as much as you want. So if you call the VA, it's going to be a generalized reception area that's going to pick up your phone. So every time you call, someone else is going to pick up. So if you don't feel like the first person is giving you an adequate response, call again. Hang up and call again. Obviously, don't just hang up on the person, but politely thank them for their time and call again and see, like, do your research. Don't think that there's always a way for something, for one, and this isn't the 80s. Like, there is more than enough programs out there, supportive people that will help you for the things that you need. I just really had to put that out there, because you will get people with the personality where it's like they say no and you're like, okay, the answer's no. And I can't do anything with that. No, if they say no, politely thank them for their time and do your fucking research, because there's always a way. There's always something. There's so many programs, grants out there that there's fucking money out there. Like, whether they want to dish it out is a different story, but just educate yourself on what's going on.
No, absolutely. And you're correct. I'll share a story actually from when I first was retiring out.
Mm-hmm.
I received my first pension paycheck, and it wasn't to the amount that was told to me was going to be given by my PBA rep. And so when we did a review of the case, it turned out that the lady that was reviewing payments and what was going to be going out, she denied my R1 or R2 status. I can't remember which one it is now at the time, but what that essentially is me as being a T5 paraplegic. I also have loss of bowel and bladder. And so there's a different compensation that comes to us. And this lady, which thank to God, she told us, she decided that somebody that was 19 that was retiring, just about to turn 20, shouldn't be receiving, the compensation that I was going to be receiving for my losses. And so she denied the higher, compensation payment that was supposed to be made. And, luckily that lady was fired. She was removed for that position, because like you said, you may get somebody that just is deciding that day that they want to feel like it's their money and they're going to decide what you're entitled to. And so the best way is absolutely to do the research on your own if you can. And if you can't, try to find a veteran service organization that you can sign on with that will do the work for you on your behalf inside the VA system. A lot of people get scared once they start talking about power of attorney, but the power of attorney is strictly a medical power of attorney through the VA system. They do not have any ability to go and get information on if you're going to a private hospital or anything like that. That's not what you're signing up for. You're strictly signing up for that veteran service organization to have the relationship as the liaison between you and the VA. And I do recommend that, because there is times where they'll let you know of stuff that's available to you that, you may not have been aware of.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for your time today. Is there anything else you would like to put out there for any junior sailor, or anybody, anyone that's retiring, or anybody that might be going through something really rough right now and just don't know where to
I
look?
Absolutely. I think probably the number one thing is, especially with the people that have been in the military, is they feel like they are less of, the Marine or the sailor or airman, whatever it is, soldier that they were, if they're asking for help. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help, especially with a system that is, maybe set up to keep some of you guys from getting the benefits that you have, just to cut dollars that's being spent. And those are entitlements. It's stuff that you are entitled to, that you earned. And don't ever be ashamed of that, and go out and get them, and make sure that you're being taken care of. That's the number one thing that we want, is to see our brothers and sisters being taken care of, and have the same opportunity that we've had to reintegrate and back into a civilian life, and live life as normal as we can.
Hmm. Very, very true. Thank you for that. Now, guys, we are closing up
Well,
our
thank you.
episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Marie with the Modern Day Podcast. Make sure you share, subscribe. Definitely more share, obviously, for that's someone that may really use this information. Like, there's a lot of people that don't have the information due to lack of chain of command, or just not the right support system that they're in. Sometimes you can't choose where you get stationed at. And it just so happens that that rotation that you're in may not have the best chain of command at the time. So make sure you share this with people that may benefit from something, or that they're thinking about getting out, but they're just like, oh, I don't really know even where to go if I do get out. So please share this podcast with someone that could really benefit from it. Have a good night.